Greetings to each of you. I am Reverend Dr. Shalita Mira, a licensed psychologist, licensed clinical social worker, and an ordained pastor. And I'm stopping by for a few moments today to bring your awareness to a crisis in our communities and in our nation. There are some topics that are very sensitive when we want to engage or even think about them. But I need you to know today that beginning to have conversations around the prevention of suicide is important. I know it's nuanced. I know no one wants to think that suicide and suicide attempts are happening all around us, but they are. And so my main purpose today is to educate you on the dilemma that many in our communities are facing, and that is either suicidal completion or attempts at suicide. On the screen here that I'm sharing with you today is a brochure from the CDC, and this will be available in a link under this video. You can use this free of charge to be able to educate your families, your churches, your community organization, whomever needs to begin to open up the dialogue around suicide. Why is this important? Did you know that in 2022, when the most recent statistics around suicide attempts and suicide completion was conducted, 49,000 people died by suicide? That is one person every 11 minutes that came to the conclusion that life was no longer worth living and made a plan that resulted in the ending of their precious life. I want you to consider that. One person every 11 minutes. Why don't you take 24 hours a day and then do the mathematics to see how many individuals that is per day? How many 11-minute blocks of time, the last or final moments for some of our loved ones around us? Think about that for just a moment. We're talking about this today because suicide is a leading cause of death. So let's talk about what is suicide. Suicide is a death caused by injuring oneself with the intent to die. I need you to understand that that is important. This isn't accidental. There was an intention, there was a planning that is associated with suicidal attempts or completion. Now you have suicide, which is the completion, but you also have suicide attempts. And this is when someone harms themselves with the intent to end their life, but they do not die as a result of their actions. But this can lead to other adverse consequences, mind and body and familial and communal. There are many factors that can increase the risk for suicide and protect against it. We need to know that suicide is connected to other forms of injury and violence. For example, people who have experienced violence, whether it's bullying, child abuse, sexual violence, they have a higher rate of suicide risk. And being connected to family and communal supports, which is the reason why I'm making this short video today. And also having easy access, so knowing where to go to get help can decrease not only the suicidal thoughts, but also the behaviors. We know that suicide is a serious public health problem because I just shared with you that in between 2000 and 2022, we saw a 36% increase in suicide rates. And then that led to those 49,000 beautiful souls that were lost, one every 11 minutes. And that doesn't include the number of people who think about suicide. That number is even higher because in 2022, an estimated 13.2 million American adults seriously thought about suicide, and 3.8 million people planned a suicide attempt, and 1.6 million people attempted suicide. Let that sink in for a moment. In 2022, we see suicide was among the top 9 leading causes of death among age groups 10 to 64, and it was the second leading cause of death. The second leading cause of death for children and teens between the ages of 10 and 14, and also young adults between the ages of 25 and 34. Think about that. We have to begin to normalize conversations around mental wellness, suicide, suicidal ideation, and also normalize and destigmatize individuals reaching out for additional help and support. We know that some groups have higher suicide rates or even attempts than others. And we know that in some communities, whether it's racial or ethnic or gender specific or socioeconomic status, even in some religious communities, we see that the rates might be higher in some groups than others, but let's just be honest, suicide is touching every class, every gender, every race or ethnicity, every religion, every age group. We have to begin to have conversations about suicidal ideation. And so I'll end with this. There are many of us in the mental wellness community who are here to lend a helping hand, to either give you support or connect you to support. So canvass your local communities, see what mental wellness providers are available, and begin to make telephone calls and make connections if you need that support. Also know that your local hospitals and your local law enforcement agencies can also assist you in getting that support. But if you or someone you know is in crisis or has been sharing with you their battle with suicidal ideation, I need you to let them know that there is help, and it is as easy as calling the crisis hotline. You can call or text 988, and there is someone 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to help you navigate through the journey of suicidal ideation. There is help. And there is hope. And if you will reach out to us, we will provide you the support that you need to make it through this moment of struggle. Please, please, please download these resources. Talk to your children, talk to your grandchildren, talk to your mothers, your fathers, your sisters, your brothers, your cousins, your aunts, your uncles. Talk to your community leaders and your church members. Talk to everyone you know. All of September is focused on suicide prevention. We have to begin to talk about it. And I hope this video will spark a conversation for you first to begin to see how prevalent suicide is in our communities and motivate you to begin to talk to those around you about this dilemma. Thank you. Let's end this mini webinar just to look at some signs and symptoms of suicidal ideation. And there are some specific things that we look for when we're concerned that a person may be suicidal. And that will include a change in behavior or the presence of entirely new behaviors. So this is of the sharpest concern if the new or changed behavior is related to or connected to a painful event, loss, or change. Most people who take their lives exhibit one or more of the following warning signs, either through what they say or what they do. So I want you to remember these 3 words: talk, behavior, and mood. So if a person talks about killing themselves, feeling hopeless, having no reason to live, being a burden to others, feeling trapped or unbearable pain, that is a warning sign. Let's look at behaviors. So, behaviors that may signal risk, especially if related to a painful event, loss, or change, can include, but are not limited to, the increased use of drugs or alcohol, looking for a way to end their lives, such as searching online for methods, withdrawing from activities, isolating from family and friends, sleeping too much or too little, visiting or calling people to say goodbye, giving away prized possessions, aggression, and fatigue. Now let's look at mood. So people who are considering suicide often display one or more of the following moods, but again, not exclusively. There can be others, but the ones that are most seen in the research are depression, anxiety, loss of interest, irritability, humiliation or shame, some big event that triggered or evoked humiliation and shame within them, agitation, anger, or relief or sudden improvements. Now, these symptoms can vary widely between individuals and may not always indicate suicidal ideation. So it's important to have conversations, and it's also important to make a suggestion for your loved one to consult with a mental health professional for a proper assessment. So some of you may be wondering, how can you help? First and most important is emotional support. So listen without judgment and show empathy. Don't be afraid to open the conversation, create safe spaces for this type of intimate dialogue and querying, and ask questions, ask questions, ask questions. And then concrete actions look like giving the person a quick reminder that they are not alone and that there is help and support available. Help them find a professional mental health or spiritual support service to attend to their needs, and also support mental health initiatives in your workplaces, community schools, religious houses of worship, wherever they may be.